A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
I want to highlight something that my wife, Sarah, and I are really excited about. On February 10th through the 12th, 2026, we are hosting something truly special, the Remodel Your Marriage, Life, and Business Retreat in beautiful Franklin, Tennessee. If you and your spouse run your remodeling business together, you know there are huge joys and very real challenges. This retreat is built specifically for couples like you. Over these 3 days, we're going to slow down, be real and authentic, and take a deep look at what's working in your marriage and in your life and where you want to improve together. You'll hear from other remodeling couples. You're going to be encouraged, create some clarity around your plans, and walk away with a personalized plan for 2026 that strengthens, yes, your life, yes, your business, but especially your marriage and that relationship. And we're also going to have a little bit of fun, some good food, some great company, and plenty of time for you to enjoy Franklin, Tennessee. If this sounds like something you and your spouse want, see the details in the show notes or visit our website, remodelers-on-the-rise.com. Welcome, everybody, to Remodelers on the Rise. We are recording a episode. Hey, if you're watching the video, you can see it. Look at that nice folder. Ooh, nice. MSC Enterprises. I have my clients and friends. We're buddies, you know that. Austin and Callie, Cornell, they're down in Lee's Summit, Missouri. And when I was looking at that, is there actually like a apostrophe between Lee and S? There's not a lot of cities that would be like LEE''S.
So there is an apostrophe, but anytime you put it in like to order something, like it's a no. They don't want the apostrophe.
Right, it throws it off.
Yes.
Now, Callie, could you start us off by giving us a little history lesson? What is Lee's Summit? Did General Lee summit there and do something back in the day, or what?
I mean, I've lived here my whole life. I don't really know the history of Lee Summit, but
Lee Summit is a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. We are like 120,000 people. Really cool history.
I know, but what's the history? What's like what was the summit?
Highest point in Jackson County, I believe, resides in Lee Summit, Missouri. Not far from where we are. Not far from our beloved Chiefs and all things Royals.
Oh, you guys are major Chiefs fans, aren't you?
And we have a great downtown. If you ever had the chance to come to Kansas City, you got to venture to Lee Summit and check out our downtown.
Wonderful. Callie, as my dad would say, why don't you put that on your list of things to find out? I would like to know the actual history, even though I could probably Google it and see the Wikipedia page and know it. But put that on your list of things to find out. And here we are recording this on December 19th, 2023. So it'll be fun to go back to it. We are in week 14 or 15 of the NFL season. What is your prediction of how the Chiefs' end of their season is going to go? What is going to happen?
We finish 3-0, and we meet your beloved Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl, and we win like 34-31 in overtime.
Wow! All right,
that's deep, right? I mean,
that was pretty specific. So
yeah.
If all of that happens, that's going to be something. People will be like, they didn't record it on December 19th. They bet you. Anyways,
all right. Post it. Make sure it's posted.
So Austin and Callie have been part of, we did some one-on-one coaching for a year or so together, really dug into their business, the financials, the marketing, the sales process, a lot of things around their leadership. Then they have been participating in the VIP club this past year. They're participating in some peer group work that I have coming up this year. And at our last in-person event back in October, Austin at some point kind of raised his hand and been like, hey, when are we going to get the invite to be on the podcast? And I said, oh, in due time, pipe down back there. But then shortly after that, I said, hey, why don't you guys come on the podcast? And here we are.
We appreciate you having us. I'm excited. I think we may be the first husband-wife ever to do your podcast.
I'd have to go back in the old archives, but that could be the case.
I know
that's what I was hoping for.
When we started working together, that was kind of a goal that I thought could be a fun thing.
Right, let's give you a win there. Yes, you guys are the first ones to ever do this. I do work with a lot of husband-wife teams. There's some part-time marriage counseling. Did I ever provide any marriage counseling services?
Lots.
Every single session.
Yes, so
that's why we need you back.
There you go. There's a little bit of that. All right. So here we are. So let's hear a little bit where we're going to go with this is just hearing a little bit of your story. You're talking to fellow remodelers who are listening to this potentially some husband-wife teams as well. And want to kind of just go around the horn and talk about, just some keys that you guys have had as far as being a remodeler on the rise. Maybe we'll touch on some financials. We'll touch on some sales process. We'll touch on some hiring and some different things. But let's start with hearing, hey, what's this MSC Enterprises? Where did this come from? A little bit of where the business was and kind of where it is now.
Sure.
Give us a little history.
So like I mentioned, we're a residential remodeling contractor based in the Kansas City metro. We are the second generation and the second owners of the business. MSC is actually titled after my dad, who started it 23 years ago. We have a really strong construction history in my family, long time painting, and then went into new construction. And currently we do only remodeling. No new builds. Really don't have intentions to go that direction. We enjoy what we do. We love the intimacy of working with clients directly, really getting to know them, understanding what they're looking for and how we can help them provide that. Man, our experience with Remodels on the Rise has been nothing short of probably a rocket ship. I think when we came to you guys, we felt like we were reinventing the wheel on a lot of things and trying to solve problems that we knew other people had already solved with your help. And so when we started to work with you guys, we had some specifics around financials we were looking for help for, definitely some leadership tactics, and then simply how to grow the team. All of those things have happened greatly. The dynamic of husband and wife has also been fun to work with. Callie has been with us for 7 years now, give or take. 6 or 7.
Did you just look at him like, has it been that
husband
long?
math, is that a thing?
3.
Okay.
Oh, I just heard about wife math.
God, I was way
woman
off.
math.
There's a lot of wife math that you guys just won't understand, but this is one of them. I've been with the company for 3 years.
Close.
2020, I resigned.
Feels like 7.
Yeah. Well, 2020, I resigned from teaching to come work for the company. And as much as I miss my students, it was the best decision that we made for our family. So
to unpack that a little bit more, because people are always kind of evaluating that of, there's a lot of that situation. Why do you think that has been, you mentioned in particular for our family, what's been that dynamic?
Well, we had 2 kids under 2, and that was challenging, and working on top of that was a lot. When I stepped away from teaching to come into the business, I was kind of just part-time, here to help, here to do things when needed. But now it's grown into more of a full-time position, still with the momming on top of it. But I think the biggest thing for us is our daughters have noticed that we can do more things as a family when we're running this business together, because Austin's doing it day in, day out, all day. I'm here when I can, but I'm also always there for my kids. I can go to all of their school things. Like today, I have a sick kid at home. If I was still teaching, I would have to call grandma to come deal with that. And so it's been just really nice.
Flexibility that has given you guys.
Flexibility has been the biggest thing.
Yeah. I think sometimes in the hustle and bustle and stress of business, we sometimes forget about the benefits of some of that flexibility. So it's a good reminder to, especially this time of the year, to kind of reflect on, what's working. Those are things that I think sometimes after a few years, we take it for granted and realize, wow, if yes, it's stressful. Yes, there's a lot of work involved in this, but those are some of the benefits. Quickly, if I could go back to the new construction thing, you kind of mentioned a little bit of why, but if I handed you a new construction, kind of a custom home, and it just kind of fell into your lap, well, how would you respond to that? Or strategically, why have you kind of decided not to go that route?
Our response would be, we would pair that person with a trusted home builder in our area, which we have a few that we relay work to. We just feel like they're 2 totally different things. I look at construction in a couple of different ways, but we have the remodeling portion, new home construction, and then commercial. And I think if there's probably opportunities for companies to be really good at more than one of those, but for us at this time, we want to be the best we can be at remodeling for our clients and not be distracted or working on new home construction that, quite honestly, I feel is probably easier in some facets than what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah. And there are aspects of that are easier. And to your point, the trade partners you use for remodeling work, sometimes they overlap, but a lot of times they don't. So
Yeah.
there's that aspect, the overall process. But the big lesson there for everybody listening to this is you heard, I tried to even pin it up of like, look, it's a custom home. This, meaning,
Sure.
oh, a custom home. Oh, it's just fallen into your lap. What do you say? The fact that you have a strategic decision of, that's not an ideal project for us, and we are going to turn that down so that we can focus on the ideal clients that we know are set up well for our business, for our team, for our processes. That's something for us to keep in mind. When we are all things to all people, it makes running the business more complicated, more processes, more systems. We're jumping from an addition to a basement to a kitchen to a deck. That complicates things. So I wanted to just have you share that as it's kind of a good takeaway. Wonderful.
And I would encourage people that instead of spending the time chasing a couple different things like that, if you're interested in it, I would rather spend the time we would dedicate to a new home, learning more about what we're doing as far as kitchen remodeling or primary suites, whatever the case may be.
Going deeper into that focus. Cool.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right, so we're going to pop around a few things. The other thing that you had mentioned is it's second generation. I know you and your dad have kind of worked through the transition of what that looks like for you guys. There's a lot of folks who are kind of at that. I was joking earlier of like, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but boy, I'm having a lot of conversations around, a generation to a generation of selling the business, of a variety of things. If you were to kind of summarize some lessons you learned through that, or some encouragement to others who are kind of in that situation, what are some lessons you learned in that transition?
Number one, hands down, and I don't think this is probably unique to our situation. It's not always about the dollars. It was very apparent early on in our transition that we just wanted to make sure everybody still felt valued. And for my dad particularly, he is the kind of guy, like, he's not going to join the bowling league as he ages, any of those kind of things. He likes to work. That's what he enjoys. That's kind of his release on the day. It's how he gets his stress out. And so it was really important in our transition to find a way to make sure he stayed involved instead of just having a hard, here's the date you're going to retire, and after that, you're no longer involved in anything. So we structured it in a way to continue him working X amount of hours through a certain year, and then we look at that further beyond that. And my guess is when we hit that year, which is 2027, he probably continues to work to some capacity.
Yeah. But even hearing that of you guys have a plan that you've laid out. I remember when we were talking about it before you had that conversation, and it was very much like, we're kind of assuming what he wants. We just need to really sit down and lay it all on the table. And I think a lot of times that happens when you have an owner who's kind of, nearing that transition period. And especially in your case, where you have an up and coming next generation who's been really growing the business, there gets to be the point where, all right, we need to really lay it all out there. The situation, my desire for this, your desire for this, that is such a critical aspect of it. And I liked where you went with that of how do we show that the work that has been done is valued? What does it look like to make that transition? And just open communication, I think was very key for you. And also finally writing it up and saying, all right, let's really get this out there.
And in all fairness, there's no dollar amount that can be put on some of the experience that the older generations have. I think there's opportunities for people like that to stick around as long as they want to stick around, even if it's simply just to use them for some of the knowledge and experience they have.
Yeah. Did you just call your dad old?
Yeah, probably.
Callie, what did you learn through that transition? Anything that you'd add to what he just shared?
Honestly, we had a really good, easy transition. Most people will probably be finding out from this podcast that we're the owners now. Because we've really tried to, we've tried, no, it's not a secret. It's just that we've just tried to keep everything just the same and make sure that everyone still feels like they have a place at MSC. So,
and I think he maintained a much lower profile than we do as far as scale of work and yearly revenue. He would probably tell you he thinks we're absolutely crazy and why do we bring all the stress upon ourselves? But it's the vision that we have, and I don't think we're done growing, but He just never had the intention to do that. And so I think the time was right for us to continue to grow, and then him to really hang on and go for the ride with us.
I like it. Cool. Popping over to the financials, if we were to put a banner over the top financials, you mentioned when you were talking about how we connected that there's been a lot of growth or a lot more clarity related to that. If you were talking to your remodeling peers who are listening to this and you're going, all right, here's some of the hard lessons, some key lessons that we've learned when it comes to understanding our numbers and our financials and what that looks like. Share some of your items with that.
When we came to you, I don't want to say we were in shambles by any means, but we definitely needed some direction.
You weren't in full shambles because the payment you made to me went through. So, I mean, that was fine.
More in shambles of our processes and what we were doing.
Yeah, the encouragement of the processes that we received from just our group, from you, the simple stuff, the design and development, like quit giving everything away for free. And I cannot say enough about that. Like, we still do our front end stuff, very minimal amount of time with folks. And then we are into a development agreement that we are able to bill for. Our time is valuable. Just because we're the contractor in the situation doesn't mean that we should be belittled or expected things away. We have to make sure there's value there. So that has helped our overall financials. And then making sure we're charging properly for the amount of time we're spending on things, and not just, oh, they're a good client, let's just do it. Yeah, they're a great client, but we need to be able to maintain being the good contractor. And to do that, we have to be able to bill properly.
Even what you just shared there is multifaceted. One, the estimating. Are we charging the number of hours for labor, or are we capturing everything in there? It also ties into change orders, what you just described of, well, they're great people and we're going to be nice to them, so let's just give that away. So, oh, you're looking at each other like that's potentially happened before.
I've been guilty
we've
for
learned
years
some
of that.
hard lessons about being nice and not doing change orders. So now we do them.
There's a fine line between being too nice and just naive to what you're doing. And I think we were on the naive side of, oh, well, let's help them out. Well, at the end of the day, then you look at your financials and it's like, wait, we're helping them out, but putting ourselves in a terrible spot.
Yeah. I've sent I'm not a big Alice Cooper guy. In fact, I just had to type it in to figure out who it was that sang it. But there's the song "No More Mr. Nice Guy."
Yeah.
And I went through a season several years ago where I just kept sending that. Just, hey, listen to this. And hey, Austin, listen to this song. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Like, I get it, but you're running a business and you can't. So charging properly, the estimating, the change orders, and then also just looking at your markup and margin. I think one of the big things that you've seen and that you continue to work on is related to, if we're only charging a small amount of markup or margin and we have any amount of slippage, there's just not a lot of gross profit dollars left. We've got to, we sometimes have to set aside the, I have to sell this job. I need work coming in. Yes. Right. Okay. That's a conversation over here. But we also have to make sure we're charging well to cover a solid gross profit, to cover our overhead expenses, and to have a healthy net profit down here. And I know that's something you guys have worked and made good progress on.
To that point, I'm infamous. I just texted to a cabinet guy last week that we don't need practice anymore. We've done this a long time. Like, why take the job if it's just going to be dollar for dollar and you're not going to succeed in that way? Make sure the projects you're taking are properly bid and that you're able to bill properly. I think that is a huge learning lesson for us in the last 2.5 years. The pandemic was what it was, and it was kind of chaos for everybody. But I think it also was a good thing in some ways because it opened eyes for people to see what they should be doing.
Yeah. Callie, you do a lot related to keeping the numbers organized, keeping the job cost reports going, making sure all the accounts receivable, accounts payable. What would you say you've learned through that, or that's been important for you guys, or that you would encourage others listening to this that might be like, we don't know our numbers and we just rely on our bookkeeper and things are kind of messed up. What are some best practices that come to your mind for it?
Well, to be honest, when I started this job and started
7 years ago, that was right.
3. When I started,
hang on, pause. What? Austin, how many years have you been married? Go.
Oh no.
It'll be 9 next year.
All right. See,
What's the date?
in the set June 15th, 2015.
Very
No,
nice
June
to-
19th. Shoot. June 19th, 2015. The 7 years she taught for 7 years is
Yeah.
where it threw me
No,
off.
understood.
And we were
And
just chatting
and
about
you're
that last
and
week.
you're on a really famous podcast. You know,
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
are probably amped
Pressure.
up. You know, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Bailey, we're gonna need a little edit for that. We're gonna need a little edit on that anniversary
you.
date. Actually, don't edit that because
No.
that was
that one you can
hilarious.
leave in. Yeah, I don't mind
That
that.
was hilarious. Yeah.
People to
But
be
as you were
exact.
saying, Callie,
Yeah.
before you said when you started this job 3 years ago. Yes. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, I remember meeting with you and looking at our financials and being like, I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Like, this is gibberish to me. And just in the last I think it was 2 months ago, we looked at our financials for something for you. I can't
Could that
remember.
be related to our most recent trip to the beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan?
It could be.
To our
But now
was.
now I feel comfortable enough to like sit down and look at my financials with anyone and talk to them about what this means, COGS and all that stuff. Now don't go question me now.
I'm not gonna quiz. I'm not gonna quiz. Yeah.
I feel like I'm understanding a lot more, and it's making things just click and making things easier. And the more that we focus on putting our practices in place, it's just getting easier every time we check off another big task.
Yeah.
It has not come easy to anyone around here. It has been a task to train and learn and understand, but there's definitely fruits of the labor being seen right now.
Yeah. And for some, and this wasn't necessarily you were new to this, right? You're going from teacher to, you know, running kind of the office / the number side of things. So it was very new. But
I was a math teacher, so I do know a little bit of math.
That helps. My son's taking AP. He's taking AP stats. Hang on, I just got to say a quick prayer for his AP stats exam because I think it's today. Yeah, good luck, buddy. We'll see how it goes. But to go from that, and I think what I see often is like, well, I'm not really a numbers person. When I hear that from somebody, I'm like, before we even do training on it, you got to change your mindset.
Yep.
And I think what you've realized is the more you understand the numbers, and yes, it's taken time. Now that you have a good handle on that, it's allowing you to just see things much more clearly. When an invoice comes in that's higher than what it should be, you quickly see that. You're able to go to an estimate and see the actual. You're able to project a little bit more of accounts receivable money coming in and accounts payable going out. You've now understood a little bit more of how all of that ties in with our overall profit and loss statement. We know what overhead expenses are. We know what gross profit is. You did say COGS. What does COGS stand for? You told me not to quiz you, but I feel like you got it.
Cost of goods sold.
Bingo. See, you could be quizzed on this and you knew it. Yep. And, you know, then we got the net profit. So continue. What I've seen with you guys, and I guess the encouragement or some takeaways for people listening is, hey, it takes time. Continue to be a student of it. There's a reason myself and every other coach that's ever coached in remodeling over the last, 30 plus years is talking about know your numbers. It's so important. What's the next thing in 2024 related to knowing your numbers that you're going to double down on or work even further on?
You got one?
Well, I feel like we've never made our budget and really like checked it throughout the year. We just see our monthly financial statements and we're like, cool, we're still doing good. Everything's good. But I think we really need to pay attention to the budget this year and find ways to save money in certain areas or whatever, just to, because that's the stuff I like to do in my home life, in my personal stuff. So now I want to be able to take that to the business side next year.
I like that. Austin, what comes to your mind?
Job cost reports are the biggest one for me, and we've talked about that a few times, that the power that similar to a budget, similar to your financials, the job cost report can tell a story just simply through numbers, and just being able to predict and be better at estimating by using those has been tenfold. And we are starting to see that now with, hey, we were always low on this thing. Let's call it electrical. So we need to make sure we're accurate moving forward.
Yes.
We've
So
totally
what you just said is one facet of job costing. I am a better estimator since we're looking more closely at job costing. I assumed that this was good. I assumed that was good. No, none of that. I was on the phone earlier today and with a client, and we were just looking at some job costing, but in particular his P&L, and he was expecting his gross profit to come in at 38%, and it was coming in down at 31%. We call that slippage. And really the only way to know why that is happening is to look on a job by job costing reports. Well, I was expecting $40,000 of gross profit on this project. We actually had 30,000 because we went over here and we forgot this and we forgot that. Well, there's 10,000 of the equation right there. So understanding job costing makes you a better estimator, makes you a better business person, makes you more profitable. So dig into that. One of the things you guys have added to your overhead expenses, Callie's like, how can we save money? Austin's like, hey, let's spend some money, is an office. You mentioned kind of some of the benefits of that. So you've always been working from the home. You've leased an office space. Tell us how that's been helpful for you guys.
It's been game changing. So Callie mentioned we have two little kids. Both are technically in school, but school's only 7 to 3 or whatever, and the workday is longer than that. The ability to have your own office space that's private, have private meetings, phone calls, and just get away from the distractions has been huge for us. We have a project coordinator, Cindy, and then a couple field people, especially Bob. It gives us the ability to meet them at a site that is private, where we do not have the distractions of all things that come with home life. It was huge for me. Callie's better at balancing the two. We're currently at home now, but I got to the point where, hey, there's a kid beating on the office door. I have to go there. And then I was just neglecting certain things. So it's made it worlds better.
Now, and you had talked about, just you don't have to get into it too much, but you have a dream of kind of building an office space, yeah?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But in the meantime, you're leasing it, and I think sometimes we have to realize, in your case, in a lot of cases, okay, there's probably that dream is probably still out there.
Well,
but also
is deeper now that we have a leased space, because you see the benefit of it, and it's like, okay.
And you write that little check, right? And you're going, oh, this could be equity.
Yep. You start to understand the benefit of the equity side.
But what I see it for you is like it's a stepping stone. Going from being at the house to having some office space has impacted in a lot of good ways. And for people listening to this, if that's been something you've been thinking about, first, go back to what Callie said, create that business budget. Let's see, what is it going to take in order for us to rent some office space? What is it going to take in order for us to make that office hire or that project coordinator hire? When you lay out all of your overhead expenses, when you see what your top line revenue goal is and what your expected gross profit margin is, the business budget will show you and give you a vision of what the upcoming year can look like. So definitely dig in. If you email Bailey, Bailey, at remodelers-on-the-rise.com and say, Kyle mentioned on that podcast there was a little lesson on creating a business budget, she'll send you the lesson because we love to deliver value. And then you can create your business budget. Bingo. Let me take a quick minute to tell you more about something that could make a huge difference for you and your spouse next year. My wife, Sarah, and I are hosting the Remodel Your Marriage, Life, and Business Retreat. It's down in Franklin, Tennessee on February 10th through 12th, 2026. Running a business is incredibly challenging and difficult. It adds a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and sometimes some misalignment between you and your spouse. This retreat is all about spending intentional time uncovering what's working in your relationship, what you want to improve, and how to build a stronger life together. We did this in the fall of 2024, and it was fantastic. Here in February 2026, you'll hear from other remodeling companies and couples, gain clarity, and leave with a very clear and customized for you plan for 2026. One that, yes, supports your life and supports your business, but most importantly, your marriage. And we'll make sure that you have plenty of fun and time to enjoy everything that beautiful Franklin, Tennessee has to offer. If this is tugging at you even a little, head over to the link in the show notes and get all of the details. All right, let's get back to the show. Cool. Let's talk about a couple other things. One is related to the team. You mentioned Cindy. And I wanted you to focus in particular on that hire you guys made. Why did you need to make that hire, and describe that position a little bit and the impact of that position for you guys?
So when Callie came on board, we knew it was going to be simply office work. She doesn't have the time or the ability to be out in the field um, doing any kind of coordination or anything of that nature, just simply from a time standpoint. Cindy's going to laugh when she listens to this, but I sometimes have a hard time sleeping. Woke up, checked LinkedIn, never had met Cindy, and she had a post that she was moving to town and was looking for the job that we were looking to hire for. She has been crucial in documentation and just creating the steps that we need to have in place to make sure mistakes are avoided and then to maintain where we want to on the financials. It was something that I would tell you, I kind of run and gun all day. I'm always on the move, and slowing down is a hard thing
like
for me.
Patrick Mahomes.
There you go.
Is that the first time you've ever? Is that the first time you've ever been compared to Patrick Mahomes?
Well, we both are good looking. So
You're welcome. Yeah.
what can I say?
Yeah.
So having Cindy like back in for us at the computer, creating documents, keeping things updated. Her title is project coordinator. I tell people she's kind of my right-hand person. She does as much coordination and desk work from a project management standpoint as anybody does in the company.
Yeah.
We keep her kind of tucked away, and she loves that because she doesn't have to be out and about every day. I'll let Callie speak to the stress level changes that Cindy has brought for us. Go ahead.
Cindy she has been a game changer. Mostly because Austin can't slow down. He can't stop sometimes. And Cindy kind of puts him in his place, but also takes things off of his plate to help him. She's self-driven. She can do everything. She doesn't rely on Austin for everything. And so he trusts her to take off and run with things. And every time she does a great job. So it's taken so much stress off of Austin. It's been good for me because her and I can discuss things and then help
pick on me.
Well, we really don't. I know she loves her job. She tells us all the time she loves her job, and we love having her, and she's been just wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that position is something that a lot of remodelers, there's different kind of stages in growth. And there's a lot of one nice thing about the remodeling industry is there's a lot of different ways to do it. Some people might hire more of an estimator so that they can be in the field more. Some people might hire a project manager. Some people might hire a designer. There's a lot of different ways to do it. In your case, what I remember from this and what's been the results is when you, Austin, were doing sales, estimating, project management, trying to get more, you were committed to doing more design and project development work up front. You were committed to making more decisions before the hammer hits the job site. You were committed to walking clients through the selection process. You saw how, by us putting off those decisions, putting off schedule, working on schedule, putting off getting fixed prices from some trades, putting off selections, there was a downhill ripple effect where that's what was causing a lot of stress and last minute things on job sites, right?
Tremendously. And it was always in the last 4 weeks of a project that it all came to a head, which is already the most stressful time. Yeah.
So this idea of adding this expense into your budget and planning for it, and then being able to move so much of the work off your shoulders and earlier in the process where we are much more organized and prepared before a project starts. Let me repeat that for everybody listening. When you are much more organized, have made a lot of decisions, have made and finalized selections, when you have and finalized design, when you've done more and more of that before the hammer hits the job site, that is what is going to lead to a better experience for your clients and less fires for you to put out. Does that mean there won't be fires? No, this is remodeling. There's going to be things, but less noise during the project, less last minute things, less delayed, much smoother process. And in your case, hiring Cindy as the project coordinator, that's what really enabled you to do that strategically in the business front and reduce your workload and stress level for you as the owner. And that's a huge impact.
A huge thing that was a word just simply to add to that is accuracy. Like the ability for her to gather everything and help us implement. And then just on the back end, we are so much more accurate with the estimates, therefore avoiding all of the issues on the once the hammers have swung, answering questions are easy. We know the pricing on it. We're ready to go.
Yeah. I was pulling up. This has also enabled you to start golfing more.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Hey,
Now,
I
I mean,
do
I
have
can't.
to say, and my boys, we're getting older, so now we're winter golfers. So
Oh,
we
man.
played in Kansas City last week, a 52-degree day. And as I was in the shower yesterday, I'm like, man, I played good golf. And then it hit me that I only missed 2 greens all day. I bogeyed
Wow.
18 to miss my record low for the year.
Oh my. Now, so we're not going to share people what my handicap, what your handicap is. They can, if they're on the GIN app and they search us, they'll be able to find it. Plus, we don't want to boast
Yeah,
here
I mean,
on.
how about the trophy behind you?
There are a couple
honest.
trophies back there, but the bottom line is currently Austin has a 0.9 lower handicap than me, and I will be rectifying that in the year 2024.
I love it.
But
I'm just gonna keep going
that's legit, right? When you were so busy, there just wasn't time for that. There wasn't time for hobbies, some downtime to turn your head off. Like, you're an entrepreneur, you are a go guy, and to be able to set up the business in a more organized way, in a more thoughtful way, and to have a team around you has enabled you to be a more present dad and a more present husband, to enjoy some of these other things that, hobbies. So, those are the cause and effect. And I think the big thing to take from that, from anybody listening to this, one, it's a marathon. Like, we're running a marathon. Not everything's going to be always perfect and fixed, but if the business is really controlling and running you versus you running the business, which I think if we unpacked it even further, like, that was the case a few years ago versus now. That's something to really be thoughtful about. You're hearing some of the ways that this has improved, understanding your numbers, hiring key team members, thinking strategically about the work, working on processes, knowing your numbers. So, hopefully through hearing your story, they're hearing that.
And don't say yes to everything. Like, that's been a huge learning lesson in the last 12 months is you don't have to be the yes man to everybody. You don't have to take on every project. It's just not, if it's not for you, it's not for you. Be the best you can and offer a recommendation possibly, but you don't have to say yes to them all.
I like it.
It doesn't have to happen.
So we hit on a lot of the topics that I wanted to touch on. Is there one other thing of going, I wanted to also mention this? Is there another something that came to your guys' mind of a best practice or something that's been impactful?
I have 2.
Oh, he has 2. Are you surprised?
No, not shocked.
Okay, so number 1 is when Callie, 3 years ago, when Callie quit teaching, we had a lot of people tell us no and say, like, what are you thinking? That's a bad idea. You shouldn't work together. Teachers around here are not compensated well enough, but they are well compensated for some. And everybody said no. And we're like, forget it. We're going to do it. And it is hands down the best thing we've ever done. Do we bicker about things? Yeah, occasionally. We're married. It is what it is. But if you're thinking about it, it just made sense for us. Hands down the best thing we've ever done.
And also thinking about what you guys, like, Callie, you opened it up by saying this was an incredibly helpful thing for our family.
Oh, yeah.
But to your point of, do we want to hear some of the naysayers, or do we want to take into consideration what some of our friends and family might be thinking? Sure. But what I also heard there is you guys kind of pushed past that and you're going, look, we've thought about it every way from Wednesday, and this feels like the right thing and the right timing for us.
Absolutely the way to say it.
I like that. What was the second thing?
The second one is kudos to you. I think we can't say enough about how much you guys have helped. Our peer group has helped. The trips to Ann Arbor have been incredible, and just the takeaways we get. It's wild. You go and you come home and you're ready to run through a wall. Am I wrong there?
Well, also, I feel like, in our industry, we have our competitors who are our friends here in Kansas City. Yeah. But we don't want to talk business every time we're with them. We don't want to, we want to enjoy their company. And with this group, we finally found our group where we're like, they're going through the same thing as we are. Yeah. Oh, they're working on their handbook too, or this and that and that. And it's just really opened our eyes and made us feel normal.
Yeah, so, like, we're not out here on our own. We're not the only knuckleheads out here and not having everything figured out. Yes. Right?
Yeah, there's but we couldn't do it without you. We could not. We couldn't. I don't know if this would have worked without you. You were our marriage counselor for a whole year.
That was bold.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a fair bit of of smoothing the edges around this transition.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Wonderful. And then Austin, one of the goals we had was for you and Callie to sit down and have a weekly or every other week meeting so that you guys can be on the same page on the business front. If you were to give yourself a rating of A+ to F, what would you give yourself a rating on for that?
I was gonna go to Z, but F if that's the worst it can be.
Right. Is that going to change in 2024?
It's going to change this week. We have one
this
Thursday that we're sticking to.
And
but
Austin,
yes,
why?
It is.
And why is that important?
It has to happen.
And why is it important?
It's important because we don't want to talk about work when we're at home.
It's important because it keeps business out of the bedroom, Kyle.
I was hoping you were going to go. We talked about that before we started recording, and we're like, I don't know if you're going to use that line, but he used the line, folks.
Up on a 4-inch tee, buddy. Well done.
No, business out of the home. How about that?
Yes, out of the home / bedroom.
So, yeah, we focus on our family when we're at home, and that if a work thing comes up, it's very quick and hey, put it on the KA Blitz note. So Kyle gave us the Blitz idea, and we named it the KA, Callie and Austin Blitz. And we have a little shared memo in our phone where every time we think of something, we just put it on there. And when the time's right, we talk about it. Typically,
it allows you to go through a bunch of miscellaneous topics instead of like, hey, what about this while you're cooking? Hey, what about that? Yeah. So, I think I was hesitant to bring it up to kind of throw a little negative thing at the end, but I think it's also a good reminder. Yes, you've heard all kinds of things that we made progress on. You're going to continue to make progress on things. And I think that's also that reminder of, that's another example of how we can work well together, husband, wife wise, or even, office manager, bookkeeper and owner, to have kind of that list of things, the miscellaneous things. And because you don't want to bring the work home and constantly, death by 1,000 cuts. Well, what about this? What about that? Yeah. Especially with a go guy like you, Austin. Cool. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being the first ever husband-wife team on the Remodelers on the Rise show. That was fun. Thank you so much, guys.
Kyle, thank you.
Kyle.
You bet.